What if the most powerful country on Earth is also the most in debt? In 2025, the US national debt has surged past $36 trillion. That's more than the combined debt of Europe, South America, and Africa. Quietly, this has become one of the biggest financial threats on the planet. And now, the world has every reason to be concerned. For nearly a century, the United States has stood as the world's most reliable economy. Allies and adversaries alike trusted US debt, using it to secure their pension funds, sovereign wealth portfolios, and even their currencies. Because the entire global system ran on one belief: the dollar would never collapse. But what if that belief is starting to break? Since 2008, America's national debt has tripled. Today, the government spends over $1 trillion every year just to service that debt. And with every new federal budget, the debt pile grows, and the risk grows with it. In 2025, Trump's big, beautiful budget bill added another $3 trillion to the load, fueling what could be the most dangerous debt spiral in American history. Many foreign investors are calling this bill insane and destructive. Even Elon Musk, once a Trump ally, called the plan a disgusting abomination. And he didn't stop there. Musk warned the bill could destroy millions of jobs and claimed it would kill emerging industries by slowing innovation and choking growth. But here's what really has experts worried. This isn't just bad policy. It's a warning sign that the system itself might be cracking. And now, for the first time in decades, people have begun to ask, can the US actually afford all this debt? Since 2021, China, once the largest foreign holder of US debt, has sold off over $340 billion in US bonds. And they're not alone. Longtime allies like Germany, the UK, and even Japan have begun pulling back. But here's the twist: Japan now holds the most US debt among all foreign nations. China, once at the top, has now slipped to third place. And the UK has quietly moved ahead of China. But here's what really matters. All three are now reducing their share, quietly pulling back, step by step. Why? Because America is no longer seen as the predictable, secure economy it once was. With rising interest payments, political gridlock, and ballooning budgets. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, a fresh wave of tariffs shook the global markets all over again. And if America collapses under the weight of its debt, it won't just hurt Americans, it could drag down the entire global economy. Let's now talk about where all this borrowed money really goes and how it's already affecting both Americans and the world. In 2024, the US government spent $881 billion just to pay interest. That's more than what it spent on Medicare, national defense, or even income security. And here's where it gets dangerous. To cover those growing interest payments, the government will likely need to borrow even more. More debt means more interest. More interest means more borrowing. It's a vicious cycle, and it's getting harder to break. Most Americans never really think about it. Here's how. When the government borrows this much money, it increases demand for loans. And when demand goes up, so do interest rates, which means it gets more expensive to borrow money for your home, your car, even your business. But that's not all. To cover this massive debt, the government either prints more money or borrows even more. And when there's too much money in the system, prices go up. That's inflation. Groceries, gas, rent. Everything starts to cost more. So even if you're not thinking about the national debt, it's already hitting your wallet. Because in the end, debt isn't just a government problem, it's everyone's problem. What do you think? Should Americans be worried about rising debt, or is it all overblown? Drop your thoughts in the comments. For the average American, the debt will likely be a pain point. As the US debt keeps rising, investors begin to worry. They start demanding higher interest to lend money to the government. That drives up interest rates across the entire economy, including mortgage rates, which means buying a home becomes more expensive. Monthly payments rise. And for many Americans, that dream of owning a home starts slipping further out of reach. All because of a debt problem they didn't even create. According to finance expert Michael Ryan, the debt isn't just a future problem, it's already hitting your wallet. Higher grocery prices, rising interest rates, expensive home loans. You might not see national debt printed on your receipts, but you're paying for it every single day. Now let's talk about how America's massive debt is rippling across the world. 3/4 of US debt is held domestically by the public, intragovernmental agencies, and the Federal Reserve. But the rest, over $9 trillion, is held by foreign governments and investors. And that's where things get risky. As US borrowing rises, global interest rates go up too, making it more expensive for everyone to borrow. But even more dangerous is the pressure on the US dollar. The dollar isn't just America's currency, it's the world's dominant reserve currency. It's used in over 90% of global forex transactions, 60% of reserves, and over half of global trade. A weaker dollar means rising import costs, volatile exchange rates, and uncertainty for businesses worldwide. Foreign investors, once eager to hold US debt, are quietly pulling back. It sends a clear message. The world is nervous. The risk? A full-blown global recession triggered not by war or pandemic, but by debt. So what's the way out of this debt storm? There's no magic bullet. But here's how governments, including the US, have historically tried to dig their way out. 1. Borrow to grow first. They borrow more. Sounds crazy, right? Governments issue bonds raising debt to pay off older debt. The idea? Use that borrowed money to fund growth, which brings in more taxes. 2. Lower interest rates. Central banks like the Fed keep interest rates low to make borrowing cheaper, fuel spending, create jobs, and indirectly reduce debt. It works, but only if the economy responds. 3. Spending cuts. Then there's the tough route, cutting government spending. But here's the catch: these cuts often hit low-income families, veterans, or vital programs. It's a political minefield, but sometimes unavoidable. 4. Raising taxes. Or they go for tax hikes, from income taxes to sin taxes on alcohol and tobacco. Governments try to bring in more cash, but if spending keeps growing faster, it barely makes a dent. 5. Bailouts or defaults. In extreme cases, countries ask for bailouts or even default, like Greece in 2010 or Ghana in the 80s. But for a global superpower like the US, that path could trigger global financial shockwaves. Pro-business, pro-trade growth strategy. And finally, there's the long-game focus on pro-business and pro-trade policies that boost innovation, exports, and entrepreneurship. Because a stronger, faster-growing economy naturally generates more tax revenue, without raising tax rates or cutting essential services. America has options, but no easy ones. If bold steps aren't taken soon, the cost of doing nothing could be far worse. As Benjamin Franklin once warned, neither a borrower nor a lender be. But today, America is both. And if we don't make the right moves soon, we may find ourselves losing more than just money. So, here's the question: what would you do if you were in charge? Cut spending, raise taxes, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments.